We are excited to announce our new partnership with LUFFYUP, a top brand TCG accessories. Whether you are into One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or you just have a favorite anime, this is the right place for you. And with the code HILL5 or by shopping through the link down below, you'll get 5% of your order while also supporting our channel. Big thanks to LUFFYUP and to all of you for supporting us. Now back to the video.
Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we are here with one of the best players in Europe, Dicle. Ever since this deck came out, Dicle has been fully dedicated to mastering Luffy UP, and even after the banlist, he never lost confidence in it. So today he'll walk us through his deck building choices, and then we'll dive into the K matchups, just like we did in the Rayleigh video with Enrico. If you haven't seen that one yet, we definitely recommend checking it out. Lately, Luffy UP has been making a comeback. After an initial period where many thought that the deck has been hit too hard by the banlist, is proving itself again with plenty of strong results. That said, the lists are less standard than before. For example, the counts of Rosinante&Mihawk may vary quite a bit, and some people are not running the Gravity Blade, some people are running 2 or 3 Red Rocks. So what do you choose for the ratio, and what lists are you running currently?
I think the deck is really good right now. Doesn't have a really bad matchup. If you see his curve, can win against every deck in the meta right now. The only issues with the deck is that the meta is a lot of aggro presence like Rayleigh and Zoro, and they punish your opening hands with a lot of bricks, and that you can't counter early attacks. So you doesn't arrive to a game state where you can stabilize the game. So that's the issue. The only issues with the deck right now. When I started playing the deck, the card that changed everything in the meta, I think, is Rosinante, because when I started playing against Bonney and Zoro, the issues was that you couldn't develop a board while staying open and not dying from your opponent attacks. And Rosinante does everything you need to reach that accomplishment in the game. So I think it's the most important card right now. And Mihawk is the most powerful 9-drop that you can drop with Sanji, because with your deck you can ramp, so when he enters on the field in the first turn, he can remove every drop that your opponent has developed on his board, because we'll have at least a 7-drop. It's the most powerful one, but lately in the game it becomes a little bit break, and you will discard it with Giant most of the time. So you need to swim him in the first turn that you drop Sanji, otherwise it's a little bit breaky.
Moving on from the list, I'd like to get into some of the deck's key matchups. So let's start with the Rayleigh. How do you approach that matchup, and what are your main goals during the game?
My main goal in that matchup is to reach the first turn at 10 downs, where I can develop a double big body with Sanji with at least 1 life, just because the turn after of my opponent is easier to handle his attacks, and I can go from there to 0 life. The turn after, I would just use my effect of leader to search counter power, and using cards like Nami and Rosinante just to go deep in the deck and finding all the counters to play around, also add unblockable spells of the Rayleigh. So that's the main goal. If you are able to establish double big body, then you can pressure your opponent and close the game in 2 or 3 turns at maximum. So for this reason, early game I tend to protect all my life. If the counter power required from my opponent is 1 card, like 6 or 7, or if they attacks with 8, I can use Gertrude if I don't have to use it for ramping. Also, a king card in the early game is probably go threat, just to clear my opponent presence on board with the Luffy or the Sanji that are the biggest threats. And I will never go to trade with my leader is Searcher, because if they want to attack with the Searcher, they need to use Dons, and that is good for us because it means that other attacks will be smaller, and we can easily counter attacks from 6 or 7 because we have a lot of counter power in hand in the early game. We use the leader to attack face because we want to settle his life to 2 or maximum 3 because when we establish the double big body, we need to close the game in 2 turns because we can't play the long game too much because we need to play every turn around the unblockable spell plus other spell like Gatling or something like that that can buff the leader, so the attacks will be big. Other than that, I think that's once you establish the board and you can play every turn Nami plus Rosinante, you will go deep in your deck, finding every answer that you need. Also because with the Fat Leader and those 2 drops, you see like 10 cards on your deck, so it's easy to see the counters.
Okay, now let's talk about the most played deck in the current format. That's Zoro. I've seen a lot of mixed opinion about this matchup. Do you consider it an easy matchup, and what's your game plan against it?
I think it's a favorite matchup for OP. It's easier to play instead of Rayleigh. Just because I think Zoro player needs to be really good, and he needs to know also the matchup very well because he can play his standard gameplay. Because cards like Tashigi and something like that doesn't clear anything of you because you don't drop any smaller body, so you don't give value to his early game gameplay. And the only threat that they have is Mihawk. It costs Mihawk, so that's why I'm playing also in the list double Red Rock. Because in general in the meta I think is better than Gravity Blade because can clear all the threat that you can handle with Mihawk or something like that. In general, I play to protect all my life as Rayleigh. I try to use cards like Gear 2 and Bagua, that is one of the best cards I think in the deck in the current meta. Because all the aggro decks can't play around it, so they gives more value to it. Also because it is a counter card, but it also ramps, so it is so enjoying with the deck. So I think it's one of the best cards right now. If you are able to arrive in a point of the game where you establish at least one big body and you are at 2 life, I think from there you can't lose because with all the power counter that you have, you can just counter every attack of your opponent every turn. And also the biggest threat that they can do is like double 12 using Inspired King. But with a 1 blocker and the counter power, it's easy to counter it. And I think I saw a lot of people playing again OD Jones in the deck. I don't think it's really good against OP, just because it's a good target for Mihawk that otherwise you wouldn't have much during the game. I don't think OD Jones is the answer to OP. And I played also Zoro, so I played the matchup in the reverse version. And I think it's very difficult from Zoro side to win the game, because they need to pressure a lot in the early game, and if they can do that, they just lose, because you don't have also so much counter power, so you can counter the big hit in the late game of his big bodies, so they can settle a little in few turns. And one card that shines also in this matchup is Rosinante, because they can untap the Chudons, so it lets you play around a Demoniac Aura or OD Jones if they play it, so it's easier with it to play around those cards.
Finally, I want to ask you about the Bonney matchup. Personally, I think that is the only true bad matchup for the deck. So how do you approach it, and do you prefer to starve the opponent or to play in an aggressive way? And what are the key cards in that matchup?
So when I started testing for Bologna Regional UP, I was having a hard time against Bonney, because without Mom and Katakuri you can't play anymore the long game. So I tried always to push my opponent's life just to try to win the game before they can drop a lot of big bodies and counter-race me. But once I realized that I could also play the long game, because I had a lot of counters in my deck, so I could protect my life easy. Also, I could play at 0 life in an easy way. I started to starve Bonney, and I had a lot of success starving her, because the only search that they're playing right now is Bonney, but Bonney can search only 8 cost kid and other big body. So they need to draw all the king card without searching them. So it's not that easy from Bonney side. Also because the deck plays a lot of cards that do nothing in early game. You can punish more starving Bonney, because if they miss one drop, you just win from there. It's if they miss like Cavendish, or they miss like OD Johnson on 7 don't turn, you just gain so much advantage. And also starving them, you don't need to tap your character, so you don't give to them value to the big bodies like 10 cost Duffy or 9 cost Shanks or something like that. I always try to start attacking them when they attack with your character, so I can value trade them, and if they save them, they have 0 hand. Also, if they destroy with 9 cost Shanks, or they drop 10 cost Duffy, my characters did something relevant during the game in value terms. After starting starving there, I think the matchup is a little bit on OP sides. Also because if you are able to draw the nuts, like on the first turn you play Sanji Mihawk and you remove something on his board, you gain so much advantage.
What advice would you give to someone who's just picked up the deck and wants to really understand it?
I think once you start playing it, you know that you're getting good when you are able to see a turn ahead, especially to the knowledge that the leader gives you. So you always play your current turn based on what you are doing the next turn, or what are you willing to do next turn. And another advice that I could give in this current meta, especially against Rayleigh and Zoro, and also against other decks, Sanji could drop also a 5 drop, and is good enough, like Nami or Rosinante, because playing a 9k for free and establishing a piece on board that are improving your game state is also good. You don't need to play always Sanji for a big body, but also especially for Rosinante, because they're improving your game state a lot, allowing you to untap 2 and having freedom so open for your opponent extra is fair enough.
So, given the deck's recent rise in popularity, I wanted to ask you what you think about the mirror match and how you approach it.
So I think right now the mirror match is less skilled than one that was before, just because without Mom now, once you reach 0 life, it's hard to counter big attacks from your opponent. I think the only new thing about the mirror is that I prefer going second right now and not going first, because you don't have any more Katakuri, so there isn't any 8 drop relevant to develop on board, justifying you going first. And going second let you play Bon Clay, that is a rare big threat right now, because it can do a big swing for free and force your opponent to have a god threat. If he doesn't have a god threat, that Bon Clay is a menace like any other big drop that you will play later in the game. Given the fact that we don't play anymore a lot of 8 drop, I think I am playing only one 8 cost Luffy. There aren't any good 9 drop to play if you only double ramp with the deck going first. And so that's why I'm playing right now double 9 cost Luffy, because it's the only card relevant in the mirror when going first, because it let you put pressure on board, and it's untradeable from your opponent's side. So every turn you will attack for free for 10, and you requires him double cards like Giant or one other card. Let you split other attacks better when you wanna close the game. But other than that, I don't think. I think it's not that skilled right now. The only new thing is, like I said, is going second because it's better. You just see one more card, you just need to double ramp, and you play on clay, and you are the first one to play Sanji as first in the game. Sanji plus another big body. And another thing going second is that ramp once, and you can play Nami or Rosinante. It's better Nami, of course, because he's a blocker. And stay open for Bagua. Now that the mirror is based on putting your opponent to 0 life, staying open for Bagua, force your opponent to skip an attack turn. So that's also a really good spot.
Okay, and how do you manage your life? Do you always take the first hit to proc the Thunder Bagua, or you use to counter in the early game?
Going first, you take the first life just to set up a Bagua for a possible triple ramp. And going second, you can decide if you take the first or the second hits from your opponent leader to have also the Bagua settled for the turn at 7 downs when you ramped at 4 downs. So you ramped at 4 downs, you have 7 downs, so you have open for Bagua. And that's the spot that I described before, that going second is good also because force your opponent to skip that attack turn. And also giving the fact that the only 8 drop that they're playing is 8 cost Luffy, they can't attack with him that turn because you will just use Bagua and ramp from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Dicle, for taking the time to be here with us. If you guys want to dive even deeper into this deck, remember that Dicle has released a guide on his metafile, and it's incredibly detailed. It covers every single deck building choice, plus dash cards, 12 matchups, mulligan guides, and the fundamentals of the deck, from making the most out of counter events to stack management. And the life management we talked about earlier for the mirror, he actually explains that for every single matchup. With that said, I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!